The gift card sitting on the table in front of me has a cartoon of a woman hunched over a laptop, surrounded by cats, with the caption, "Still grinding, keep at it, maybe next year." Below it, wrapped in pale yellow tissue paper, is a hardcover book called Redefining Success: How to Find Meaning When Your Career Doesn't Go the Way You Planned. My sister picked it out. I can tell by the way she's watching me open it, head tilted just slightly, like she's waiting for a camera she arranged herself. "We thought it might help," my mother says from across the table, "after everything this year." This is my mother's retirement party. 40 people in the private dining room of the nicest restaurant in town, her colleagues from the hospital, her book club, the neighbors' adult children she somehow still keeps up with. The centerpiece floral arrangements cost more than my first month's rent. And in the middle of all of it, my sister has handed me a book about coping with professional failure. I turn it over, read the back cover, set it down. My sister's smile doesn't waver. She has always been good at that. I should explain what everything this year means, because my mother said it like it's a known thing, a shared understanding between us. It's not. What she knows, what my sister told her, is a version of this year that has almost nothing to do with what actually happened. Here is what actually happened. In February, I received a letter from the National Environmental Leadership Fellowship. It's a competitive program, fewer than 12 people selected annually across the country, all of them mid-career environmental engineers who have demonstrated both technical excellence and community impact. I'd applied on a long shot. I spent 3 months putting together my portfolio, writing essays, gathering recommendations. My husband Archer sat with me at our kitchen table in Denver on the night I finished the final draft. Reading it twice before he said quietly, "This is really good. This is really, really good." I submitted it and tried not to think about it. The acceptance letter came on a Thursday morning. I sat in my car in the parking garage of my office building for 20 minutes before I could make myself go inside. I cried, then laughed at myself for crying, then cried again. That evening I called my mother. She didn't pick up. I called my father, same. I sent a text that said, "Big news, call me when you can," and neither of them responded until the following afternoon when my mother sent back, "Sorry, busy week. What's up, honey?" By then I'd already decided I wanted to tell them in person, properly, the way this kind of news deserved to be told. So I wrote them a letter, a real one, on good paper with the official fellowship brochure enclosed. I explained what the program was, what the induction ceremony meant, where it would be held. I bought them 2 plane tickets, round trips, Denver to here and back. I mailed everything to my parents' house in a priority mail envelope, certified, with tracking, because the tickets alone were nearly $800, and I didn't trust standard mail with anything that mattered. I addressed it to both of them. I sent it in early March, 6 weeks before the ceremony, plenty of time. 2 weeks later, my sister called. "Hey," she said. "I was at Mom and Dad's this weekend. They mentioned the fellowship thing." My chest lifted. "They said something about it?" "Yeah." A pause. "They feel bad for you. I think they're just worried. Dad didn't want to bring it up because he didn't want to make you feel worse." I went still. "Make me feel worse?" "You know, because you didn't get in." "I what?" "The fellowship. They said you applied and it didn't work out." A soft exhale. "Look, it happens. These things are insanely competitive. You shouldn't take it personally." I remember the exact way the air felt in that moment. Like something had been vacuumed out of the room. "That's not what happened," I said. "What do you mean?" "I got in, I was accepted. I sent them an invitation to the ceremony. I bought them plane tickets." The silence on her end lasted 3 seconds. "Oh," she said, "I must have misunderstood." She hadn't misunderstood. I knew it even then, standing in my kitchen watching the February light go flat outside the window. But I wanted to believe in the other explanation. Parents misread a letter, sister got her wires crossed. These things happen. I called my mother that same evening. "Mom, did you get the envelope I sent about the fellowship?" A pause. "Honey, your sister told us. We know it was disappointing. We're proud of you for trying." "Mom, I got in, I was accepted. I mailed you everything, the letter, the brochure, the plane tickets." Another pause, and then, "We never received anything like that." I know now what happened. I think I knew that night, if I'm honest with myself, but I was so desperate for the benign explanation that I did what I have always done with this family. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. My sister called the day before the ceremony. Said Mom and Dad sent their love, they were thinking of me, she hoped it went well. She sounded warm, supportive. I remember thanking her. I walked across that stage with Archer in the front row, and 2 seats empty beside him, and I told myself they would have come if they'd known. I told myself that for 7 months. The gift is still sitting on the table in front of me. My sister's husband, A corporate attorney, 3 years married to her, someone I have always thought of as decent, at least, looks up from his phone and glances between me and my sister. There's something careful in his expression. He is a man trained to read rooms, and he is reading this one. 2 seats down from me is my mother's colleague, Dr. Fairbanks, who serves on the board of 2 national environmental organizations and has run the hospital's sustainability initiative for a decade. She has been listening since we sat down. I watched her head tilt slightly when my sister said the words setback. I put the book down. Thank you, I say, this is very thoughtful. My sister's smile warms, she thinks she's won this round. The toasts begin after the appetizers. My father goes first, eloquent when he chooses to be. He talks about my mother's 28 years in hospital administration, her commitment to her patients, the way she turned a failing department around in her first year. My sister goes next, talks about grace in class and showing up, tears up on cue. 3 of my mother's colleagues tear up with her. My sister has always known how to fill a room with her emotion until everyone inside is swimming in it. She sits down to applause. There's a pause and everyone looks at me. I pick up my glass. Mom, I start, and my voice comes out steadier than I expected. You always told us that the work you're most proud of is the work nobody sees, the 6 a.m. calls, the forms filed twice because the system crashed, the patient who complained about everything and cried when you left. I pause. I've been thinking about invisible work a lot lately. I think I finally understand what you meant. My mother blinks. Something moves behind her eyes, not quite recognition but close. I clink my glass against hers and sit back down. My sister is watching me with a careful, measured smile. She can't tell if that was a statement or just a toast. It was both. Dr. Fairbanks leans forward. I'm sorry, did you say you're an environmental engineer? Your mother talks about you so often, but I don't think we've properly met. I'm on the NELF advisory board, actually. The National Environmental Leadership Fellowship. I see my sister go still. I know who you are, I say. I was inducted in April. Dr. Fairbanks's face opens into a warm, certain smile. Of course, I thought your name sounded familiar when your mother introduced us. I review the new cohort files every year. We were all genuinely impressed by your watershed restoration work. My mother puts down her fork. My sister says very carefully, what? I didn't realize she was your daughter, Dr. Fairbanks says to my mother. You must have been so proud at the ceremony. The private room is just small enough that this carries. Not to all 40 people, but to our table, and the table nearest to us, and to my brother-in-law, who has set his phone face down and is looking at my sister with an expression I cannot quite name. My mother says, I don't understand. I was accepted, I say again. The words feel different this time, not defensive, just factual, the way a flight number is factual. In February, I sent you a Southern March Comps certified priority mail to the house, with the program brochure, and 2 round-trip tickets to Denver for the ceremony. My father's glass stops halfway to his mouth. We never received any of that, he says. I know, I say. That's exactly what I'd like to understand. My mother is the first to break the silence. Your sister told us you applied and were turned down. She said you'd mentioned it to her and that you were taking it hard. My sister opens her mouth. There was a miscommunication. What kind of miscommunication? My brother-in-law's voice is quiet. He's looking at his wife with the focused attention he usually reserves for depositions, because what she's describing is specific. A certified letter, plane tickets. She said she tracked the delivery. I don't know anything about a letter, my sister says. She has pivoted fast, I'll give her that. Her voice has gone soft, slightly wounded, the register she uses when she wants people to feel sorry for her before she explains herself. I told them what you told me. You said you applied. I told you I got in. You were upset. I may have misheard. She turns to our parents, her eyes filling with the tears that are never very far away when she needs them. I was trying to protect her. She sounded embarrassed. I didn't want you to make it worse by bringing it up. There it is, protective sister trying to shield me from my own humiliation. If she'd had another few seconds, she might have landed it. She doesn't get another few seconds. You called me the night before the ceremony, I say. You said you hoped it went well. Those were your exact words. I let that sit in the air. You can't have wished me luck at a ceremony you didn't know I was having. My sister's expression flickers, recovers, flickers again. I have the tracking number, I continue. For the certified letter, it shows delivery confirmed to the house address, signed for. I open the USPS tracking page on my phone and set it on the table, face up, where my parents can see it, delivered. Signed by, signature on file. That signature is yours. My mother leans forward, studies the screen. Her hand comes up slowly to cover her mouth. I may have signed for a package, my sister says. I sign for things at mom and dad's all the time when I visit. I can't remember every single. It was a large envelope, I say. Priority mail, red and blue. My name and return address in the corner. You would have seen it the moment the driver handed it over. I pause. Did you open it before you threw it away or after? My sister says nothing. Because inside, I say, there were 2 non-refundable plane tickets, purchased on my credit card. Round trip, $800. I look at my mother, then my father. You really think she forgot to hand you plane tickets someone bought for you? The room has gone completely still. Beyond the frosted glass door of the private dining room, the restaurant hums with ordinary Friday night noise, glasses, laughter, the low percussion of other people's conversations. In here, there is nothing. My brother-in-law stands up from his chair, not dramatically, just stands, the way a person does when their body has made a decision the mind is still catching up to. Sit down, my sister says, low, sharp. He doesn't sit. I set my phone in front of Dr. Fairbanks. She studies it for a moment, nods once, then passes it to my mother. My mother stares at it for a long time. When she looks up, her eyes are wet, but she isn't looking at me. She's looking at my sister. You told us she failed, she says. The words come out slowly, like something being pulled apart at the seam. You said she applied and it didn't work out and she was embarrassed to talk about it. We stopped bringing it up because we didn't want to hurt her feelings. I was protecting her, Mom, I know how she. You signed for her mail, my brother-in-law says, at Mom and Dad's house, and you threw it away. You don't know that. The signature on that tracking record is yours. I've seen your signature on 1,000 documents, that's yours. That doesn't prove I threw anything. There were plane tickets inside. His voice hasn't risen, but something in it has hardened into something final. Non-refundable, $800, bought for your parents. You're telling me you forgot to give them that? My sister looks at him for a long moment. Something passes between them that I'm not meant to understand. Then she turns back to the room, and I watch her make one last calculation. I did it for this family, she says. That fellowship was going to take her to Denver permanently. She would have disappeared, and frankly, she looks at me. You always act like your work is more important than anyone else. Like nothing we do here matters. I was tired of watching Mom and Dad get excited about your career every time you called. Like the rest of us aren't here. Like everything we've built doesn't count. Nobody speaks. In the quiet, my brother-in-law takes his jacket from the back of his chair, folds it over his arm, and turns to my mother. He looks genuinely pained. I'm sorry about your party, he says. Congratulations on your retirement. You deserve to celebrate tonight. He looks at me. I'm sorry this happened to you. Then he walks through the frosted glass door and out into the restaurant, and the door swings shut behind him, and my sister is left standing at a table with 40 people watching her face. She gathers her purse, her chin lifts, that old practiced lift, the one that says she has decided none of this counts. This isn't over, she says to me. Yes, I say, it is. She leaves. The room holds its breath for one more beat, and then Dr. Fairbanks says with admirable composure, I'd genuinely love to hear more about the watershed project. Your retention metrics in the second phase were the highest in this year's cohort. And somehow, impossibly, the dinner continues. My father finds me near the coat room at the end of the night. He's aged since I looked at him closely. Somewhere in the last 2 hours his face has done something I don't have a name for. He holds out a folded envelope. I know before I open it. A check. $40,000, written in his precise handwriting. A card that says only, I'm sorry, please don't let this become something public. I look at the number for a long moment. I think about what I could do with it. I think about driving to the airport alone in April, calling Archer from the parking garage saying, I really thought they'd come. I think about the induction ceremony where 2 seats stayed empty and Dr. Fairbanks didn't know my parents' names. I fold the check in half, then again, until it's a small, tight square. I set it in my father's palm and close his fingers around it. I'm not selling you anything, I say, including my silence. You can have that for free. He looks at the folded paper like he doesn't recognize it. Call me when you've thought about this, I say. Not tomorrow, not next week, when you have actually thought about it. I button my coat and walk out into the October air. Archer is in the parking lot, engine running, heat already on, because he knows I'm always cold after formal events. He looks at my face when I get in and doesn't ask how bad it was. He just pulls out of the lot, one hand on the wheel, and gives me the silence I need to come back to myself. We're 20 minutes out of the city when he says, the watershed case study got picked up by the EPA newsletter. Posted this afternoon. I was going to tell you after dinner. I let out something that's half laugh, half exhale. You're kidding. National distribution. He reaches over and squeezes my hand once briefly, then puts his back on the wheel. Figured it could wait until you were ready to hear it. Outside the windows, the highway unspools in the dark orange and white lights stretching toward Denver. The mountains are out there somewhere in the black, solid and permanent, indifferent to any of this in the best possible way. My mother calls 3 weeks later. Not quite an apology, she doesn't do those cleanly, but close. A careful sentence about being proud of me, about things being complicated right now with your sister. I listen. I say I know. I don't rush to smooth over the rough edges the way I used to, filling silence so no one would have to sit in their own discomfort. I let her sit in it. My sister doesn't call. I hear in December, through my aunt, that my brother-in-law has filed for separation. I don't know what happened in their house in the weeks after the dinner. I don't ask. What happened between them is between them, and I have learned, slowly at real cost, that I am not responsible for the consequences other people bring down on themselves. What I know is this. On a Wednesday morning in December, I'm standing at the window of my office in Denver, watching snow come down over the mountains in long, slow curtains, when an email arrives from the NELF program director. They want me to speak at the spring induction ceremony, share my first-year project findings, stand at that podium in front of the incoming cohort and tell them what this work means. I write back within the hour. Yes. And for the first time in longer than I can remember, saying yes to something doesn't carry an asterisk, no hoping someone will notice. No empty seats I'm already bracing for. Just the work, and the life I built around it, an archer reading over my shoulder asking if I want coffee, and the mountains outside going white and quiet and steady in the snow. That is enough, it is more than enough. For the first time in my life, it is everything.